Hi, Dragon here from Raw Magic Chocolate. Now today we're going to talk a little bit about what is raw magic chocolate. Raw magic chocolate really comes down to two things. It is cacao and honey. These are the two pillars of our business, cacao and honey. What do I mean by that? Well, these are two of the most magical, powerful longevity foods on the planet. They really have been shown through reports and studies that they really promote long life, happiness, and health. Honey, for example, if we're going to look at honey just for a second, it's been used for thousands of years. I mean, when you look at the ancient Egyptians who were the first to keep bees and cultivate honey, they used it so valuably that the pharaohs and the priests, they would be buried with honey as a food for the afterlife. Whoa, now that's saying something. What kind of meaning would you put to that, you know? And then not only was it so valuable that they would use it as an afterlife food of all the types of foods that they could use, that if you go into those tombs thousands of years later, you can still eat that honey. That's 3,000-year-old food. That's a 3,000-year-old shelf life. That's an immortality food, if you ask me. And if you are what you eat, then what does that mean? You know? So when we work with honey, we're working with basically the alchemy of the bees. Now, these guys, holy moly, let's just look at bees for a second. Bees are these radiant little harmonious workers working in a collective, in a community, in a society that is really in harmony, especially when you compare it to some of the discord that we see in our human society. And we're supposed to be more conscious beings. These guys work in perfect unison, and they create through taking the bee pollen, which is basically the radiant energy of the sun transmuted and condensed into living radiant flowers. They take the pollen from those guys and then they turn it into liquid gold. They make their own food, a liquid gold that not only is edible for them and other species, but lasts forever if properly sealed. So that, it just, wow, blows my mind. And on top of that, they do it in such a way where not only do they benefit themselves, they benefit other species who can eat the honey, and they benefit the plants that they pollinate in the process. This is really, they're working for the benefit of all by doing what they do best, you know? So that's when we align with the honey, we align with that medicine of the bees, which is like harmony and happiness and like purpose, you know? Really powerful stuff. Now, when we look at cacao, where do I begin? Cacao is one of the most potent, revered, sacred foods on the planet. It's revered as a food of the gods, just like honey. In ancient Mesoamerican cultures, cacao and honey have been revered as foods of the gods. And what does that mean? I mean, ultimately, it's showing, it's a significator that these are powerful foods that help us be in line to our best and highest selves, to be children of the god, to be sources of light and radiance. They used cacao so valuably that they used it as their currency. They used it to trade, you know, they didn't use coins or gold, they used cacao. 3 beans for a turkey egg, 1 bean for a tomato, 100 beans for a wild rabbit or hare, you know, so that's really something. And then the priests and the kings, they would use the sacred cacao beverage ritualistically to put themselves in a trance, in a state where they open their hearts and open their minds and really get themselves into a rapturous place, you know. So it was a really sacred food for them, really sacred, and there's a lot of research to back that up. Now, what we do with raw magic chocolate is we take the magic of cacao and honey and we align them together, which is something that the Mesoamericans would do. It's an ancient relationship for thousands of years. And they have a great synergy together, despite how difficult it is to mix the two, because it's kind of like water and oil. But ultimately, we found a special kind of magic to mix chocolate and honey together and deliver it in a very magical way. Now, what do I mean by that? Ultimately, we're here in my kitchen temple that we've built for raw magic chocolate so that it can generate and hold a prayerful energy, a magical energy that is consciously aiming to fulfill our mission statement, which is to heal the heart of humanity. Now, what we're trying to do is put a lot of prayerful imagery and symbolism all over the kitchen temple so that every time we come in and make chocolate, we put ourselves in a prayerful state. We put on Tibetan chants and we really work with the chocolate. We get into a relationship where we amplify its magical energy to help heal the heart. Now, what do I mean by healing the heart of humanity? Well, for one, let's just look at cacao for a second again here, where we start to see Kabbalistically the heart is equivalent with the sun and with gold and thus with cacao, because these energies that all intertwine, cacao has been related to both gold and the heart energy based on what it's good for. They used cacao as their heart's blood. They used it to open the heart, and they knew that it was good, and it shows in journals of medical journals of old and even modern journals that the cacao really does help the heart. It opens the valves, it helps circulation, it lowers blood pressure, and then energetically, spiritually, emotionally, cacao really opens the valves, helps circulation, lowers pressure, allows us to just feel more and care more and just have a bit more of that loving radiance that we're always meant to have, you know, to live life and to love fully, you know. And so what we're trying to do in this age of heart disease being a #1 killer of North Americans, we're really trying to bring heart back into our food, into our lives, into our daily practice. You know, it really says something if you think about it, that that heart disease is a #1 killer, because it's just showing that ultimately that we're not caring enough, we're not loving enough, we're not using our heart enough, so it's failing us. And so, wow, if we start to look at things like that, how do we open our hearts? How do we keep loving? How do we care more? I mean, look at our world. So much of the troubles of our world happens because we don't care. And not only like big government officials not caring, but on day-to-day practices, we tend to thrive on drama instead of on respect and appreciation and love and brotherly fellowship, you know, like to one another. So we really want to bring it back to this very heartfelt center. We want to make a food that not only tastes great, but it's very good for you nutrition-wise. It really helps the body and also gives you a heart high instead of a sugar high. So much of our culture is obsessed with this sugar high that gets us a little buzzed and then like crashes, and we're like, oh, why am I so exhausted? I wanna open the heart, open the body, open the mind, and allow us to care more about each other. So this is really what Raw Magic Chocolate's all about. And if you're into what we're doing here, come contact us, check out our website, look up more of our videos. We'll be posting more regularly, and let's start a dialogue, because really this means the most to me. This is my life, this is my mission, this is my purpose, and I really want to just share it with everyone. And if you're into that, then give me a shout, or check out Raw Magic Chocolate. All right, peace.